They said the truth won't survive beside the lies that maintain the decaying faces of this.
And like, you can make fun of literally everything Hold the Truth Hostage does. There's no end to the laughs that we can get out of Hold the Truth Hostage. But do I think he's the devil? Yes. You know what I mean? I definitely don't think he's not the devil.
Hold the truth hostage. So what? So he's going to hell. How long will it be before Hold the Truth says hands up, don't shoot? Just saying.
I do honestly think.
Man. Is this you?
Yeah, this is the real me.
Okay, good, man. How you doing?
Hey, good. Yeah, no, I was to see the black pill guys as that guy Hold the Truth. I call him, and please don't get offended by this. This is my favorite line from Hold the House Negro, because he's a house Negro on that panel. And I don't care if anyone gets offended, that's what he is. I grew up a white guy growing up in New Zealand, just as it is. You know, the very first thing people will say when they see me jump into this, like onto this stream or whatever, they'll be like, oh, you know, he's alt-right or some sort of underlying racial acrimony, which couldn't be further from the case. And I'm a very liberal guy, very accepting. Yeah, no, I've got a lot of strong words to say about these guys, and I was really happy that you invited me on to chat.
High value black men. There just isn't a lot.
I grew up a white guy growing up in New Zealand, just as it is. You know, the very first thing people will say when they see me jump into this, like onto this stream or whatever, they'll be like, oh, you know, he's alt-right or some sort of underlying racial acrimony, which couldn't be further from the case. And I'm a very liberal guy, very accepting.
Hey everybody, what's up, man? Let's Hold the Truth Hostage, where if the truth was so important, we wouldn't negotiate with lies, we would hold the truth hostage. Now, this video is going to touch up on something, you know, I was kind of avoiding it because, you know, I looked at who's subbing on the channel, man. You know, one thing I will say, you know, guys making content, which gets me kind of worried, is when you see your female subscriptions go up. You know, to me, I think females subscribing to your channel with the content we make, you know what I'm saying, whether it be black pilled content, red pilled content, or just talking about men and talking about the truth in general. You know, we're talking to the absolute truth with complete logic, you know what I'm saying, with no emotions. I think when women sub to your channel, it becomes a negative because now they're watching. And the thing is, the content you're creating, it's only a matter of time before you trigger some type of emotional response from the women sub to your channel, which will be negative. Because the thing is this with social media, you got to understand that social media, the way it works is that, you know, the women subbing or watching the men's content, if that man's content is strictly towards men and, you know, what men are dealing with and how men got to face society, is that the women, once they sub to your channel, they basically become a limiter. They're here to limit your channel and potentially, I'd say, even get it flagged and removed, because it's only a matter of time you say something offensive to them, even if it's just absolute logic, you know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, the biggest issue you face on all these social media sites is that you're a man. You know, the biggest problem is, you know, you're a man. It's not about your thoughts or none of that. You know what I mean? As you could see with social media and everything going on, the biggest issue is you're a man. You know, they want you men to just shut the hell up and take whatever they give you and behave the way they want you to give. You know what I mean? So when you have women come on your channel, you know what I mean? I'm a heterosexual man. I don't mind female attention at all. But when you're doing this type of content, the more women follow your channel, the more, you know, the more your eyes and ears, you know, your guard got to be up, because it's only a matter of time before they get triggered. But let's get to the matter of what this video is about. This video is about female depression. Female depression and female mental illness and why it's not only gonna be on the rise, but it's going to become a plague. It's already happening. It's going to become a plague, and it's going to lead to the complete destruction, and it's already happening, the destruction of women anyway, mentally and psychologically. You could even see with that, I forget the name of that website that wants to help you with your mental health. If you look at that website, the majority of the people they showcase are women. They showcase, the majority of people they showcase saying, I think it's called BetterHelp. Yeah, you come to BetterHelp, and it's usually mostly women on those ads. Because what's happening right now, like I tell men, we're in the overage. The overage started in the 2010s. The overage is the end of male authority on a nationwide scale, media, social media, you name it. Male authority has been deemed, male existence has been deemed toxic masculinity. And if you look up the word toxic masculinity, it really started blowing up in the 2010s. And what's happened is when you have the men completely removed, fathers, if they're in their daughter's life, they can't really give their daughters they can't be an authoritative figure. You know what I'm saying? They can't really tell their daughters how to dress today. Sure, some can and will to a certain age point, but as that daughter matures to a teenager or whatever, he's gonna lose control or authority because of the way the media and social media works. She could upload a video saying her father is, he's being abusive or something like that. He's holding her like a hostage or mistreating her, not allowing her to evolve, express herself and all that BS. So what's happening is a lot more women are going to have social and mental illness because they no longer can have men filter out their emotions. The dynamics between men and women is that men are trapped in a logical way of thinking. The reason men are trapped in a logical way of thinking is that another man will not hesitate to remind you that you better be logical, you better have common sense, and you better show some respect. You could get hurt. Men naturally will correct each other. You know what I'm saying? Men will naturally correct each other, be it physical or be it just their presence alone. When you're around a man who's stronger than you and so on, your whole demeanor changes, So the men, even without a father figure, there's a higher chance of the men, regaining their footage, you know what I'm saying? Because another man will basically make sure to remind them that they're a man and they better behave themselves or they'll get handled, you know what I'm saying? But because the women can't have a male authority in their life beyond the, daddy government and mama corporation, and, what's happening is that a lot of women are having mental illness, and you can even look it up. More women are drinking than ever before. Alcoholics, women are on the rise when it comes to alcoholics. I forgot the article, but I think it's over 40% of women are alcoholics right now. You know what I'm saying? And, and I remember I was talking to somebody, I've talked to many women in my life, many, many, be it from the profession I was doing and all that. So what's happening with a lot of women I've seen where they come to me, they talk to me here and there, about their issues they're having in life, be it mental, not knowing where they're going in life and all that stuff, and saying, well, I have a mental illness and all that. The truth is you don't have a man. You don't have a man in your life. That's the real problem. The real issue is there's no stability, not a stable man in her life that has authority. Because of how the legal system is changed between the interaction between men and women, legally. I mean, now you need to worry about, what is that, a consent form? And if you have her sign a consent form without a lawyer there, it could be reversed. Then there's the reversal of the consent form in certain states. Then there's the fact that you both, even though you're both drunk at a bar, only the woman could be drunk, not the man, but the man could be drunk when he's fighting, and has to be removed from the bar. There's a lot of stuff going on, and a lot of women not being able to have a male authority. Because here's the thing, with what's going on now socially, with social media and everything like that, and the laws, even if a woman has a good man in her life, a good man, boyfriend, whatever you want to call him, he has no authority. He's literally basically her employee or her secretary, because he's only going to be allowed to be in that relationship so long as he cows down to her demands. You know what I'm saying? So even if she has some issues, he can't fully correct it. He can't say, you can't do this, you can't do that. You know what I'm saying? You don't go out, you don't need to dress this way. And, I'm going to touch up more on part 2. I thought I could finish this type of video in one part, but I guess there has to be a part 2 of this, because, man, this is a major issue. And I'd even say, especially for the men with daughters that are teenagers right now. And like I was saying on part 1, now, the other reason you're going to have a lot of female mental illness, and why it's going to be at a plague level, you know what I'm saying? It's going to most likely be, if it's not already that, 50 to potentially 60+%. Because now let's go backwards. So a lot of women now, and you got to look at the issues you got to look at the traditions and the merits of society that have been broken down. It used to be that before a woman went on a long-term relationship or had to go in a long-term relationship, she had to get her father's approval, and her father basically had to look into that man, approve him, and then she'd go out with him. So basically she would get an assessment of who that man is from a man she trusts, and that's her father. You know what I'm saying? That's her father. So who better to look at another man eye to eye, up and down, look at him, laser focus that, that's my daughter. Again, we got to also remember, with the rate of certain communities have over 70% single motherhood, and some over 60%. You know what I'm saying? The role of the father in that situation is basically gone. And another reason you have mental illness going on, you'll have some mental issues that will lead to alcoholism. You know what I'm saying? And here's the thing about a lot of those mental issues. Like I said, a lot of that stems from the lack of a male authority and a male figure in her life. You know what I'm saying? To teach her how to navigate the world from a perspective of stability and logic. That's what men are there for. I mean, you got to understand that a daughter growing up without a father, it really handicaps how she reacts to men, because the role a father plays is basically a man in her life that has nothing to do with sexuality, just has to do with stability, how he teaches her, how he treats her, and all that. So a daughter not having a father around, it really destabilizes how she can be around men from a perspective lacking sexuality. That's why you see the growing issue of, when women are dating men and they didn't have a father in their life, and a lot of guys are saying, well, man, she's easy. Yeah, because that's the only thing she knows how to deal with men, is from a perspective of sexuality. You know what I'm saying? And you got to think about that once she sees a man, her whole perspective to dealing with him is based around sexuality. So there's no moment of calm and stability and being together beyond the sexual act. Like I said, been telling a lot of guys what's going on is, you know, a lot of women these days have on-bed skills and on-bed experience, but off the bed, it's lacking to none. You know what I'm saying? So without that male presence in her life, it ruins the stability of how she could deal with men without thought of sex in her mind, you know, and how to actually look for reasoning and logic around other men. But, you know, in this overage where male authority is deemed toxic and poisonous, well, you know, this is inevitable. So what's happening is also, and I dealt with this. I said I've spoken to a lot of women. I worked the nightlife. I worked nightlife on and off. You know what I'm saying? Security. You know what I mean? For nightlife on and off. And what's happened is some women will come and talk to me, whatever, tell me what's going on. Another thing is when men can't have authority in a woman's life is that she can't accept what happened to her in society and move on. You know, some women come from a household where there's no love or no caring. You know what I'm saying? A man in her life that's stable and has logic leading him will basically tell her, well, you know, you were born. You know what I'm saying? We're all born. You got to look at it. We're all born into this world. That doesn't mean we're going to be loved or treated like that television sitcom where you come home and your parents are like, hey, that's my son. That's my daughter. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to get that full treatment. And what happens is a lot of women live in the past because, you know, women are extremely far more emotional than men because that's where they're actually limited to how they can affect the world. A woman can't affect this world off her brute strength. The men will remind her that she's not strong enough to compete with men. You know what I'm saying? So women are usually overtly over emotional because that's their strength. That's their wheelhouse. That's the only place where a man can't, you know, a man's physicality and a man's physical presence doesn't affect them. You know, it's how they face this world emotionally and being the weaker sex physically. You know what I'm saying? So without a man in a woman's life, she can't move on from the past. A man who will just tell her, hey, what happened in the past, you can't do nothing about it in the present. It is what it is. We got to move on. We live and learn and move on. And the thing is, you're not entitled to anything. Even when you were born, you're not entitled to anything. So without having a male stability in her life, what's going to happen, especially to the young women, is, you know, women are easily manipulated when it comes to this emotional marketing and all that stuff that's happening. So what's going to happen, and I'm going to touch up on the women. I'll have to do a video on the men separately. But what happens is all these women walk around in their 20s, you know, 20s to about their 30s. And a lot of guys, you've heard it in the manosphere, oh, they're partying and all this stuff. Nah, man, that's surface level information. Let's get to the black pill. Let's get to the soil. Let's get to the soil. Forget the roots. The roots are nothing compared to the soil. What's happened is because the women have no male authority in their lives, they just go around wandering endlessly in a pursuit for emotional gains. You know what I'm saying? Excitement, you know, sexuality, whatever you want to call it. It's all a pursuit of emotion because when a woman has no male authority in her life, the one driving the vehicle known as her life is her emotions. So she's seeking all these emotional activities to make up for not having a male stability in her life to tell her what she can and can't do that benefits her. You gotta look at it like this, man. A woman not in a stable relationship with a man where that man would tell her, yeah, you know, once you got with me, we're good. You no longer have to put all this makeup. You no longer have to literally exist by concealing who you are, makeup, fake wigs, fake hair, literally an existence of fiction. You know what I'm saying? Because if she got with a man that, you know, is stable in her life, she would wear less makeup. She'd be out less when it comes to less of those parties. And if she went out, she'd be going to brunches, more stable environments. You know what I'm saying? And maybe girlfriends would come over and they'd talk and hang out and all that. There'd be less dysfunction in her life. And what happens is the women roam around from, let's say 18, if they don't have a stable man in their life, let's just say the teens to about their 30s, they're just roaming around, just guided by their emotion without any male stability. Because the thing is, men got to face this world, you know, for what it is. You got to face it for what it is, and your fellow man will always remind you that you're not entitled to nothing. And yo, you know, this is life. You got to work for it, whatever. And even if you work for it, don't mean you'll obtain it. You know what I'm saying? But the women just roam around aimlessly trying to fulfill an emotional requirement. Then they reach their 30s, and then they realize they've thrown away their ability to start a family, their fertility, and no longer can experience that once in a lifetime event of being able to have healthy children and having a family, because women are on a time scale and it expires at some point. Yeah, you know, I almost forgot something on the last one. The other issue you have is, you know, and not being able to have a male presence in her life with stability when it comes to her father, is that we're in a society in this overage, we're in a society where it's basically telling women, you know, if it's any man with authority in your life, he's wrong. He's wrong. He's a demon, whether that's your father, that's your brother, any male in your life that isn't from your employment, that isn't from a government agency. You know what I'm saying? They are wrong. You know, the only men you should listen to are in the corporations and in the government branch, not the men in your life. You know what I'm saying? Not seeking male stability or nothing like that in your life. And the thing is, like I was saying, is what happens is a lot of these women, you know, start saying they got mental illness. They got mental illness. You know, I'm not sure what I want to do in my life. You know, I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling scared. Because here's the thing, you know, what happens is women exist in today's society where they basically place female, they try to have women think and try to equalize themselves to men only to leave themselves to more emotional and potential trauma. You see, when a man sleeps alone in an apartment or his house, wherever he's sleeping, he knows he's his first option. You know, he's his first option to handle and deal with the ultimate challenge, which is another man coming to face him, coming to rob him or steal from him. He's naturally prepared for that. You know what I'm saying? From day one, we know we're going to be dealing with other men. Now, you have a society telling women to be strong and independent, you know, do everything by themselves, live by themselves and all that, when in actuality, that narrative is to actually make that woman more vulnerable and more accessible to trauma and mental manipulation and dysfunction. Because the difference when a woman sleeps alone, that fear and existing alone and all that, you know, no families there, no family members in that house, no man in that house to basically protect her or deal with the issues at hand. Because if someone breaks into a woman's house, you know, her first thought most likely instinctively will be, you know what I'm saying, where are the cops? Where are the cops? Where are her neighbors? You know what I'm saying? Or that fear of it might be a strong man. It'll be a man that'll overpower and overwhelm her and do what he does to her. You know what I'm saying? She doesn't look at herself as the first option to protecting herself. It's usually the men in her life or society or something, society built by the men to protect her. So you have a society literally telling women that they're strong and independent for being vulnerable. You know what I'm saying? For being vulnerable. To being vulnerable to danger. Because when a woman sleeps alone, and that's why the rate of women drinking themselves to sleep has increased, where so many women are just drinking alcohol just to sleep. You know what I'm saying? Like they got to black out just to sleep. You know what I'm saying? You could look up the rate of alcoholism going up with women drinking a lot and being alcoholics, because everything that's not natural to them is being promoted by this society and this overage, by daddy government, mama corporation, you know what I'm saying, and Uncle Sam, whatever. It's promoting everything that goes against her natural existence. A woman being alone and all that stuff, it's vulnerability. It's vulnerability because she is not the first option to defend and protect herself. It's usually going to be reverted to either the men in her life, the neighbor, if there's a man, that's her neighbor, the police, and so on. Now, I'm not adding the fact, I'm not bringing she has a dog, I'm not bringing that she knows how to handle a firearm, I'm not bringing none of that. I'm just bringing the natural state that's going on, just telling a woman that she's strong and independent by making herself vulnerable. You know what I'm saying? Making herself her most vulnerable. You got to think about it. You know what I'm saying? That's why I said in a video not too long ago is just how much of a victim the children are when you have a single mother household, is that the children are sleeping. They're worried about their mother. They're worried about their mother. And then the mother is worried about the children and herself. So they sleep and exist in a state of constant vulnerability. You know what I'm saying? Constantly being vulnerable. So those children do not know how it's like to sleep in a state of comfort and protection, because, their father isn't around. You know what I'm saying? If their father was around, it would be, weird noise. Oh, don't worry about it. Daddy's going to take care of that. You know what I'm saying? Instead, if they're in a household without a father, it becomes, oh man, a weird noise. We got to run and hide with our mom. You know what I'm saying? We got to run and hide with our mom because, it's most likely going to be some strong man out there, or a man in general. It'll be a man who breaks in. You know what I'm saying? And that's extremely dangerous because, how their mom going to overpower that man that's come to break into the house? So those children sleep in a state of vulnerability. And then you have a society telling these women that you're strong and independent, when it's really you're alone and vulnerable. That's really what it is. That whole narrative of you're strong and independent, really for the women, is you're alone and vulnerable. You know what I'm saying? You're alone and vulnerable. You know what I'm saying? And when the woman's alone and vulnerable, now they're pushing all this, you have a mental illness if you just can't deal with the past. You just can't let it go. You know what I'm saying? Can't let the past go. You got mental illness because you're dysfunctional. And they're trying to make this for profit. I remember watching that trailer for the Better Health ads. You know what I'm saying? To me, I find it funny. I find those Better Health ads funny, where you hear them say, yeah, I got to find a psychologist that's just like me, that I could relate to. And in the back of my head, I'm like, if you have mental illness, you have mental issues, why would you want a psychologist that can relate to you and be just like you when you have a mental illness, mental health problem or whatever? You know what I'm saying? And of course, I know, they want a psychiatrist that relates more, maybe from the same type of community or, walk of life type of blah, 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 whatever. But what's happened is, in today's society, is the narrative is constantly being pushed to tell the women to be strong and independent, when in reality, strong and independent is really, when you truly define it, it's really alone and vulnerable. Alone and vulnerable. And like I was saying, once the women go around their whole lives, from their teens to about towards their 30s, without male stability and a stable man in their life, they eventually hit what you know in the manosphere called the wall. You know what I'm saying? The wall where, you know what I'm saying, they can't climb over. They can't climb over that wall to regain their youth and regain their fertility that wall symbolizes. That is gone in their present. You know what I'm saying? And what a lot of women don't understand with society and how it is that women and men are completely different. You know, a man at 50, 60, 70 could experience being a father. You know what I'm saying? He could just say, you know, man, I got to become a father. A woman, on the other hand, it's in her best interest to become a mother before her 30s, and it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience for her. Once in a lifetime. You know what I'm saying? Once in a lifetime to experience the full experience of motherhood. Now, of course, some women don't want to have children, but even the not wanting to have children, it's really a defective aspect of thinking. You know, it's defective, because if women were all not wanting to have children, you know, mankind and humanity wouldn't be. Hey, everybody. What's up, man? It's Hold the Truth Hostage, where the truth was so important, we wouldn't negotiate with lies. We would hold the truth hostage. Now, I did a whole set of videos on, you know, female mental illness, mental health, whatever. Now it's time to get to the men. Now it's time to get to the men. Give me a minute. Now it's time to get to the men. Now, you can look this up. Look up this article when you get the chance. The article claims that 63% of men, young men, you know, I'd say in their 20s to, you know, early 30s, are single. 63%. Look it up. 63% of young men are single. Look it up. And I've been predicting this coming to pass for over 2 years. For over 2 years, I've been saying this is coming. You know what I'm saying? This is coming. And then I've also predicted another thing they brought up, which is that over 50% of young men are not looking for relationships or even actively trying to get involved in a relationship. And that, you know, you could watch this video. If you don't believe me, you could go to my YouTube channel and look up a video I made called Dating Simulation. Dating Simulation. Look up that video. I made that video, I think, over 2 years ago. It's called Dating Simulation, where I literally predict that men will not get into dating situations anymore, because dating has become a job interview, an interview to work for free. Basically a job interview. That's what relationships have become. It's just the woman's gonna interview you to see if you're gonna be her boyfriend or the man in her life. You know what I'm saying? That will basically abide by her rules. So a lot of men, over 50% of men now, are actively not even looking to get into relationships. Young men. Men, I think, in their 20s to early 30s, or even younger, teenage men aren't even doing it, you know. And I predicted this, you know what I'm saying? And you know, I'll make another video for that. You know, I'll make another video for that on why. And I basically did. There's technically a video on here called No-Term Relationships, No-Term Relationships. Because the future of dating in America, in the West, is the no-term relationship. There are literally two relationships that are gonna dominate and already are dominating America right now. But you know, I coined the term. I coined it. It's the temporary term relationship where everything's temporary. That's the majority of relationships now. It's temporary. You know what I'm saying? There's the temporary relationship where you're with the woman, she's with you for the time being. It's very temporary. It could end in a week. It could end in a day. It's very temporary. You know what I'm saying? Your relationship together. Then there's what's going on. This might be the majority, this might be the majority of relationships. I'm not 100% certain of it, but there's the no-term relationship, the no-term. And the no-term relationship is basically the man accepting that, yeah, man, there's no terms I can set. You can't set any terms in this relationship as a man. So a lot of men are just going out with a woman, ghosting her afterwards. You know what I'm saying? The men aren't even staying long enough for her to ask, what are we, or any of that. Men are literally ghosting at a record rate because the men have realized, I can't set any terms in this relationship anyway, so why would I even try to have one? You know what I'm saying? And another thing that's happening, I almost forgot, another big thing that's going on is there's the her term relationship, her term. So really, there's really gonna be three dominant relationships going on in the West. There's the temporary term relationship, which is extremely temporary. You know what I'm saying? It could literally be a week. It could be a month. It's temporary. Then there's the no-term relationship where guys realize, yeah, they can't set any terms in today's society. It will be deemed toxic masculinity. So a lot of men are just ghosting after a date or conversation. Men are just basically ghosting 24/7, running, avoiding relationships like the plague. You know what I'm saying? Men have realized, yeah, man, there's nothing here. There's nothing here long term. If the long-term relationship leads to potential child support, leads to potential domestic violence, false domestic violence cases, leads to potential divorce, which divorce rate is at 80%, and over 80% of the women file the divorce. You know what I'm saying? There's so much to be lost in the long run. So men are basically saying, yep, we're either in a no-term relationship where, they just together when they're together. You know what I'm saying? It's not friends with benefits. It's none of that. It's nothing like that. It's just, I know you, you know me. Sometimes we'll get together and we don't claim each other at all. There's nothing involved between us besides when we meet up. You know what I mean? And then there's the temporary term relationship where it's just temporary. Everything's temporary. And of course, the dominant relationship that's coming also. Not really, but it's the relationship most women will be seeking with this overage and this male toxic masculinity society we're in. What's happening is it's the her term relationship. So the majority of women trying to get relationships now will literally base it on their terms. Here's what they want, their list, and here's what you as a man have to sacrifice to be with her, which is your manhood. So there's going to be a lot of her term relationships going on. But, let's get to the matter at hand. Male mental health and mental illness, whatever is going on. Now, because of what's happened with Conan-19, which led to quarantines all over this country, men not being able to work, going to the supermarket and seeing that there's no food, you know what I'm saying? Society just completely decaying over something that's less fatal than the flu. Whatever. I won't go too far into it. You don't want TikTok to blah, blah, So a lot of men are dealing with that, have dealt with this issue. Now, the men that are millennials, such as myself, millennials and Gen X men, it affects us a lot different. Conan-19 affected us a lot different because the majority of our lives, we didn't have to quarantine. We didn't have to deal with what happened with COVID-19. So we're firmly established in where we are and where we stand. You know what I'm saying? The only millennials and Gen Xers that will be bothered by this are really the men that are trying to pursue and relate to another generation. You know what I'm saying? So you'll see them flustered and bothered. Now, when it comes to the Zoomer males and Gen Alphas, which are coming down the pipeline, they're going to be affected way differently. You know what I'm saying? We're going to have, what's happening now is society, and I predicted this and I said this is happening. A lot of men are becoming introverts first. It's happening. Introverts first. Introverted first. A lot of men, it used to be, being an introvert used to be looked at as all socially awkward, you know, just doesn't have any social skills, can't relate to people and all that. But after COVID-19, the quarantines and everything that's happened, a lot of men are looking at introversion as the first option. You know what I'm saying? First option, because especially with being under the microscope of social media, you know, you as a man can't say anything. You know what I'm saying? Especially when it comes around the opposite sex, a lot of men are realizing, yeah, I can't say nothing. You know what I mean? I gotta really act like I'm an employee. You know, this is a job. I gotta be careful what I can and can't say. So a lot of men are realizing being an introvert is safer. Yeah, so, you know, like I was saying, male introverts. Because what's happened is this, during COVID-19, where they told us to stay 6 feet apart, be 6 feet apart, you know what I'm saying, for your safety, be 6 feet apart from other people, but be 1 inch away from the government telling you what to do and how to live your life. Now, what happened is, and why introversion is taking over, is that a lot of the men that were already introverts, COVID-19, the destroyer, you know, let me repeat that, COVID-19, the destroyer, all those men, it told them, well, being an introvert, I never had social issues. Introversion isn't a problem. It's actually saving my life. So a lot of men that were already introverts, they're going to dive deeper into introversion. You know what I'm saying? Because they look at it and say, well, during COVID-19, being an introvert was what the country was telling everybody. You know, 6 feet distance, don't hang with a lot of people, don't talk to a lot of people, don't be close to a lot of people. So a lot of men identified being an introvert as the safest lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? So now a lot of men are heading towards introversion and staying introverts. You know what I'm saying? So now what's happened with that, and the men that were not introverts, after seeing and watching all the internet, toxic masculinity, just the news, the media, television, just everything destroying the very fabric of a man being outside, a lot of those men are saying, well, man, I got to learn to be introverted. I got to learn to be introverted, because me being too social can actually, even though I want to be social in a good way, socializing with people, it's a danger to me. It's a danger because it would invite people saying I'm toxic masculinity. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of these men have looked at their lives and said, yeah, man, I got to learn to be an introvert. So a lot of these men are taking time off to themselves, spending more time on what they want to do, hobbies or whatnot. So a lot of men are becoming introverts. You know what I'm saying? So another thing that's happening, like I said, with the men not dating, I mean, over 63% of men are single. And, you know, I like to round it. Whenever the government makes up a number, you know what I'm saying, when it comes to dating and all that, I'd increase it to the nearest 10. So I just say 70% of young men are single, not in a dating relationship. And then they said, you know, over 50% of young men are not even looking for a relationship. So I'll just round that to 60%, you know. So that's the way I look at it. So a lot of the young men, and what's happening to a lot of young men now is that, you know, where all this Conan-19 stuff will led to a lot of women spending more time in their mental house, their mental box. It led a lot of men to have a lot of internal searching. It forced a lot of distractions that men were dealing with to be put to the side. And what it's going to lead to, a very two extremes. It's going to lead to what I think are two extremes that are coming. I think it's going to be two extremes in a mid-level extremes. And one of those extremes is you're going to have is a lot of men, and as you could see right now with the recession happening and all that, a lot of men are realizing that, yeah. So, you know, like I was saying, a lot of men will be looking at introversion on an extreme level, you know what I'm saying, to control and decrease their exposure to risk. Now, another thing this will lead to, and I've been saying this, I made a video, I think it's over 2 years ago on YouTube called Existence Over Purpose, is I think because of Conan-19, a lot of men are going to be living a minimalistic lifestyle. Now, when a lot of people hear about minimalism, they hear, oh, you're telling me to save money and not live an interesting life, you know, not have fun or anything like that. No, not really, not at all. What's happened is, and you know, Americans, you know, man, grew up in America. We Americans are, you know, more flashy with our lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? Now, Japan, they're doing this in Japan where men work a certain job and, you know, they live in a room or something. You know what I'm saying? They fund one room or whatever. But what's happening is a lot of men in America will be going towards, and westernized men in general will be going towards a minimalistic lifestyle because you saw what happened with Conan-19, where the government is willing to take away your job over something less than 1%. Yeah, so, you know, a lot more men will be, and, you know, people think, well, you know, minimalism is very wrong, it's boring and dull. No. What's happening is since men are abandoning, as I explained to you, over 60% of men, young men, are single, and over 50% are not even pursuing relationships, because a lot of men have been exposed, you know, thanks to your Kevin Samuels going mainstream. Then, of course, the follow-up, you know, the wannabe Kevin Samuels, your Andrew Tate, whatever, you know, scamming. So a lot of men have been exposed. So what's going to happen, and of course you add in Conan-19 with the quarantines, a lot of men have realized, yeah, man, I should just live my life. I should prioritize opportunities to benefit me, and I should be mobile and able to move and change and chase any opportunity life gives me without any attachments to dreams and, you know, romance and all that fictional crap. So a lot of men are basically gonna start living a minimalistic lifestyle. And what that means is a lot more men will be renting rooms. You're gonna see a big shift of men just renting rooms. Because if you're not gonna have children or marry, let's say you're not getting married in America, you're not getting married in the West, you know, Germany, Canada, you know, all these westernized countries, if you're not getting married or starting a family there, it becomes problematic that you're buying a big, large apartment, unless you're running a business there. And it becomes a problem if you're buying a house if it's not for business. So a lot more men will be living a minimalistic lifestyle where they'll rent rooms. They'll rent rooms they'll eventually, and you saw that big movement of men living in their vans to be more mobile, to be able to chase more jobs and more opportunities. So you're going to see a lot more men be very minimalistic. And the other thing about minimalism that's happening is that a lot of these men will basically prioritize their hobbies. So a minimalistic man will most likely have more video games to play, will most likely even go out more to the bars, more parties, enjoy their life a lot more because they're gonna have a lot more money saved up. And unlike men that have an apartment, have rent is due, big apartment, big house, whatever, where they're trying to spend money for their rent and mortgage, these men that are living a more minimalistic lifestyle will just have excess amount of money. And the other reason men will live more minimalistic is that they've seen what the government will do to their employment. They've seen what happens during a quarantine, how you'll just lose your job and your employment. So you're better off not investing more in the state with a house, an apartment, if, you know, especially if it's not for money reasons. And since you're not loyal to any state anyway, you're loyal to the opportunity. If you get a call for a job from a state all the way across the pond, you'll go. You know what I'm saying? Because they're going to pay you more and treat you better. So men are loyal to the opportunities, not the location, which makes these men more aligned to the government and governing body, because the governing body isn't treating you right anyway. So why you want to be loyal to your hometown? It don't matter if you were born and raised there. Yeah, so, you know, a lot of men will be going to minimalism, you know what I'm saying? Because they're going to look at minimalism as a way to survive and have absolute control over their lives, and introversion. But, you know, like I said, we're having a new wave of introversion where, you know, since you're going to combine being an introvert and minimalistic somewhat, a lot of these men will still keep their lives. You're going to see more men playing video games than ever before. More men living their lives, you know what I'm saying? Because once a man no longer cares about having children domestically and all that stuff, they're going to prioritize themselves. And the fact that men know that, you know, their clock isn't ticking to having children, they're just going to keep enjoying themselves. And what this is going to lead to, since a lot of the men are going to pull out, as I stated, you have over 50% of men, as seen, you could look up the article, over 50% of young men aren't even looking to get into a relationship. So what this is also going to lead to is really a lot less women getting pregnant and having children, because more men will not see that as an option at all. You know what I'm saying? Not at all, especially with the constant narrative of toxic masculinity. And, you know, and the fact that men have learned the tricks of the word, where they tell you, don't you want to have children? You know what? A lot of men back in the day would say, yeah, I want to have children. But the modern man of today that's been exposed to Kevin Samuels, the Manosphere, the Passport Bros, the Black Pill community, the modern man sees that you said I should have children. You didn't say I should raise them. You didn't say I'll be in their life. You didn't say I'll have any authority. And with the fact that you have constant advertisement and this, the overage by daddy government, mama corporation, you know what I'm saying? Guys are seeing that, yeah, you could have children to see them being pushed to have transitions when they go to school. You know what I'm saying? A man's literally seeing that having children, and this is the extreme, having children means fueling their own mental trauma, creating a source of mental trauma that is literally their own seed, because they have the kid with the woman. Now there's a high chance of them losing access to that kid. Then there's a high chance of them now unlike the 90s, the 90s, the schools didn't push their social agenda on the kids. They didn't push having children commit to transitioning and changing their sexuality. So, the fathers that dealt with child support back then, they just had to worry about, all right, man, I ain't gonna have access to my kid here and there. Limited custody, limited time, but at least my son's gonna still be my son. My daughter's still gonna be my daughter. You know what I mean? But now, a lot of men are seeing that, yup, you got a kid, the school will push towards transitioning. And if the baby mother hates you enough, she will literally transition that child. You could look it up right now in Texas. A father's fighting the court system with his baby moms who wants to have his son transition to a girl. You know what I'm saying? So the thing is, a lot of men on the extreme scale are looking at it that, the government don't got my back. The family court is a trap. Yeah, man, I gotta live for myself. Then a lot of young men are looking at the passport bros, guys flying overseas, and looking at it and saying, you know what, I couldn't, I'll just work here, position my money, be very minimalistic, yet still live my life, still party, still enjoy my life. And when I'm ready to start a family, not settle down, because look at that word in itself. That word in itself is poisonous. Settle down. Instead of, starting a family and stuff like that, settling down is all about telling a man to basically put his, be on his knees, because why would it be referred to as settling down when you're starting a family? And why are we going down? Why are we going down? But, that's one of the extremes, is that a lot of men are going introversion, and a lot of these men will be abiding by the no term relationships to temporary terms, because a lot of these men aren't planning to move in with a woman in their life at all. They're just here to enjoy themselves and have fun. Then you have the women buying into this strong and independent narrative when it's really you're alone and vulnerable. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of men are looking at it and adapting. Now, the other side of the extreme is that a lot of men will fall into hard depression, because the biggest issue is that a lot of men can't live in a world where they have to accept that the white picket fence and starting a family is the most dangerous thing they could do to themselves and their children. So a lot of these men are going to be checking out. That's why you're going to see a rise in men taking their own lives. You're going to see a rise in what I call the last necktie, the last necktie. You're going to see a lot of that, because a lot of these men, and I've interacted with them online, where they just lose their minds. They can't, the fear of not being able to start a family and living happily ever after in the West is too much for them to handle. You know what I'm saying? It's too much for them to handle. So a lot of these men will be going to the extreme. They'll be checking out. They'll be deleting themselves. They'll be ending themselves, getting a last necktie. You know what I'm saying? A wrist knife, with the wrists. You know what I'm saying? Or, a rope necklace. Rope necklace, as I call it. A wrist knife. The last necktie. A lot of men will be going to the extreme. I personally think, and I've been saying this for a while, that, you're gonna, and I've experienced it, I've seen it. You're gonna see, I'd say, out of 10 men, for every 10 men, I'd say probably potentially 2 to 3 will be either deleting themselves or surviving an attempt to take their own lives. You're going to see a lot of men just withdraw, absolute withdrawal, because they can't handle not being able to have a family and, having this happy life. Because here's the thing, man. online in this manosphere, a lot of men keep saying women are delusional, when in truth, the women are not delusional at all. The women are not more delusional than the men. We as men are the most delusional because we men will naturally sacrifice ourselves for a goal. You know, we don't have to worry about having children, you know, from an internal aspect of giving life and all that, growing a child within you. We don't got to worry about periods in that time of the month. So we men naturally will sacrifice ourselves for our goal. You know what I'm saying? That's why you saw, and it hurts me to say this, you saw Tommy the White Ranger, you know, R.I.P. to Tommy, Jason David Frank, took his life because he realized that, you know, I'm having relationship issues, but if I delete myself, if I take myself out, I'll die a married man. You know, I'll take that title to my grave as a married man. Because a lot of people don't listen when a man says, I'm willing to die for my family. A lot of people think, oh, it's going to be war. It's going to be somebody breaking into your home. No, a lot of men are taking that seriously, and they'll die for that title of a married man, that title of a husband, that title. So a lot of men will be deleting and taking themselves out of the picture. And a lot of men will be attempting to take themselves out. So very soon, you're going to see that number raise. You're going to see people in your family, oh, he attempted to take his life. You know, it's going to become a normal conversation to have. And, you know what I mean? Like I said, man, had to make these videos, you know, hope it helps some men out. But like I said, with the mental health thing, the thing is this, when it comes to between the sexes, you're going to see a lot more women buy into this mental health agenda stuff. That's really just a plan to profit and enslave people from a sense of emotion, telling them to value their emotion over their reality. I mean, you look at the 90s. The 90s was all about, okay, you came from a broken home, you got better. You know what I'm saying? You got better. You know, you've done better. This whole society now, in this overage since 2010, which is all about victimhood, which is about having you be proud and identify as a victim, the last thing they want you to do is overcome anything. That's why you got athletes. You got Paul George saying I had a mental health issue when he played horrible in basketball. You know what I'm saying? You got all these people marketing something, you know what I'm saying? Marketing something that has no physical value, because the goal now is to enslave people through the product of their emotion. You know what I'm saying? Enslavement by emotion. Not being able to let go of anything emotionally. That's the goal. To enslave of so many by their emotions. You know what I'm saying? And to profit from it. You know? That's what's going on. That's what's really going on. You know what I mean? And that's what's going on. And what's happening is you're going to see a diversion between the men and the women. You know what I'm saying? The men will not buy in as much because as men, we are being the stronger sex and in naturally being able to, you know what I'm saying, sacrifice ourselves for our goals. A lot of men will say, all right, man, I had this depression, this and that. You know, I had these issues in life, but I'm going to progress. I'm going to push forward. Now, that doesn't mean you're not going to see an escalation in male deletion. You're going to see an escalation in people deleting themselves in general, because what they've done now when it comes to the word suicide, if they've made it into something minor where, yeah, oh man, you know what I'm saying? You ate some bad Pop-Tarts. Oh, you feel bad. That's a mental health issue. You should take yourself out. You should take yourself out, you know, delete yourself. Oh man, You contacted this chick from high school and she doesn't like you. You should take yourself out. You know what I'm saying? Because they're promoting deletion as though it should be a normal thing to do. You know what I'm saying? It's that, you know, they're making it as normal, as easy as buying a cup of coffee to delete yourself now. You know, that's what they're promoting. Because they're basically saying everything is mental health illness. Mental health, mental health, mental health. Athletes not playing a good game of basketball. Well, you know, I missed that free throw because I had a mental health issue. You know what I'm saying? All this BS, and they're commercializing mental illness, and they're commercializing self-deletion and taking yourself out. You know, making it simple. Simple as pouring cereal in a bowl. You know, that's what they're doing with promotion of deletion of self. You know, and you're going to see a lot of women buy into it because at the end of the day, like I said, women can no longer have male stability in their life. You know what I'm saying? If the man can't lead, then she will fall to her emotions. She will be consumed by her emotion. You know what I'm saying? So you're going to have a divergence. You know, the men are basically, in all honesty, as you could see with 63% of men or young men are single, which are Zoomers to Gen Alpha and millennials, whatever, are single. You know what I'm saying? And then over 50% are not even looking for a relationship. Then on the other side of the fence, you have the women where they're over-sexualizing them completely. You know what I'm saying? To the point where health no longer matters. You know what I'm saying? You go on TikTok right now, you'll see a chick that's overweight saying, I'm trying to normalize being overweight and accepting yourself. That's right, accepting that you piled on all this food and excess food on your body, and you're identifying yourself with the fact that you've overeaten. You're seeing this all being promoted, what they call that body positivity, that scam. Body positivity is nothing more than ignore your overweight and continue being a consumer. Let me repeat that. Body positivity, ignore your overweight and continue being a consumer. That's all it is. And then you're in a society, when it comes to the women, they're basically telling the women, hey, it don't matter how fat you are, it don't matter how overweight you are, it don't matter how mentally ill you truly are, or basically how dysfunctional you are, you have a vagina. So, you know what I'm saying? You have a vagina, so you're good. As long as you can get somebody to validate that you have a vagina, you're good. Don't worry about being obese. Don't worry about being so overweight that when you walk, you struggle breathing. Don't worry about none of that. You know what I'm saying? And another thing is, think about it. You might be overweight, but you can still buy products online, offline. You could still drive to your favorite shops and spend money, you know? So it ain't that bad. As long as you can still be a consumer, what's the problem? You know what I'm saying? So that's the divergence. You see the women going towards the negativity. Then you have all the legal aspects of a family court and, you know, the decay of the family value legally. Because, you know, there's not one governor or government that cares in the West, the governors or politicians. Because check this out. Think about it. You've never heard of a politician come out and say, yeah, man, we got to fix the family court. We got to fix the divorce laws. Never. Because they're profiting from this, and most importantly, it fuels the government's power. You know what I mean? But in reality, you're going to see a divergence, and a divergence, you know, a lot more men, you know, you see the passport bro thing, black pill community, you know what I'm saying? You see what's coming up now with what I said, the Casper pill, men becoming full-time ghost, where, you know, the commandments of being a full-time ghost are simple. 0 attachments, you know what I'm saying? zero emotion when making your decisions. You know what I'm saying? And ghost, you got and prioritize your mobility and freedom. A lot of men will just start ghosting society. And like I said, you're gonna see it. It's gonna be normal. It's gonna be normal that you're at the bar and you're gonna overhear somebody say, yeah, remember Frank? Remember Jerome or Tarek? Yeah, they took their lives, man. They took their lives, man. It's gonna be normal to hear people taking their lives. And like I said, alcoholism is going up on the female sector because women have been trained that to be strong and independent, when in reality, that so-called strong and independence is lonely and vulnerable. Lonely and vulnerable, making them into alcoholics and drinking a lot. You're gonna see, I'd say by the time 2030 hits, man, 2030 hits, the birth rate is dropping like insanity. And you're gonna see a divergence between men and women like you've never seen before, especially with all this push for this gender crap. You know what I'm saying? Where your doctor won't even say what's the sex of the baby. They're gonna say, what's the gender? What the fuck, man? So to me, man, there's a lot going on, you know, but in reality, you know, men will move on, and those men that move on will become more minimalistic, and you know, they accept what's going on. They accept what's going on in this society, and they understand you got a passport. You can always go somewhere else. You can always do something else. And the most important thing is you can go there at your own pace. At your own pace. You know what I'm saying? After all, you're a man. Black man.
There it is, man. There it is, right off the fucking top. The fucking black card. How long will it before Hold the Truth says hands up, don't shoot? Just saying.
Oh,
I,
God.
I do honestly think.
Man.
Pill ill, y'all niggas better listen. I'm black 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 pill, I'm ill with this will. 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 I'm black pill, I'm ill with this will.
It's so important, guys. So important. By the way, women are the majority of voters in the United States.
Female content creators help the manosphere be balanced and prevent the formation of cults. She has agreed to an alliance with me and other balanced content creators to call out the bullshit and hypocrisies. I look forward to see the cat.
How long will it before Hold the Truth says hands up, don't shoot? Just saying.
Oh, God.
I do honestly think.